Ever crack open a fortune cookie and think, Confucius probably would have said that.
Haha. Yeah, those little nuggets of wisdom always seem to have a way of popping up at the most random times.
They really do.
Yeah.
But, it got me thinking, those fortune cookie sayings, they're just scratching the surface, aren't they? There's got to be more to this Confucius guy than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole universe of thought behind those pithy sayings. We're talking about a philosopher whose ideas have shaped societies for over 2 millennia.
And that's why we're here today. We're taking a deep dive into the world of Confucius, going beyond those fortune cookie one-liners to uncover the man, his message, and why about this incredible biography excerpt we're going to be digging into. So buckle up, ready to journey back in time.
Let's do it. I've got my time traveling shoes on.
Perfect. So, before we started digging into this biography, I had this image of Confucius in my head as this, I don't know, untouchable sage, born into a life of privilege, just dispensing wisdom from his ivory tower.
Right, kind of like a wise old owl perched on a tree branch.
Exactly. But reading this biography, it paints a very different picture, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, imagine China in the 5th century BC. We're talking constant warfare, political chaos. It makes our modern-day problems look like a walk in the park.
Like a real-life Game of Thrones, but with fewer dragons and more philosophical debates.
Exactly. And in the midst of all this turmoil, you have Confucius, not born into wealth and power, but a humble family struggling to make ends meet.
So the guy who preached respect for authority and tradition, he wasn't exactly born with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Nope, not at all. And what's fascinating is that his humble beginnings, they weren't just a biographical footnote. They really shaped his entire philosophy, his whole outlook on life.
So how so? Give me an example.
Well, take education, for instance. Confucius believed that education wasn't a privilege reserved for the elite, but a path to self-improvement, a way to uplift individuals and society as a whole, regardless of their social standing.
Wow. Talk about a revolutionary idea for his time.
Right, and he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. I mean, the biography really highlights this. He spent years traveling from state to state, teaching anyone who would listen, advising rulers, always advocating for ethical leadership and social harmony. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
He sounds like a one-man think tank on a mission to change the world.
He really was. Now, speaking of his teachings, let's unpack some of these core Confucian concepts, shall we? I'm thinking we start with one that often raises eyebrows. Filial piety.
Ooh, yeah, filial piety. I'll be honest, that one always sounded a bit, I don't know, intense to me. Like honor thy parents on steroids or something.
I get it. It can sound a bit intimidating at first glance. But I think it's helpful to understand the deeper meaning behind it. So filial piety, or shao in Chinese, it's really about recognizing the debt of gratitude we owe our parents and ancestors, acknowledging the sacrifices they made for us.
Okay, that makes more sense. But how does that translate to everyday life? Does it mean just blindly obeying everything your parents say?
No, not at all. It's more about cultivating a deep respect, empathy, and a sense of duty within the family.
Hmm.
It's about understanding that our families are the training ground for how we interact with the world. So if we can learn to treat our family members with respect, with compassion, those values, they'll naturally extend outward to our communities, to society at large.
Right, so it's like this ripple effect, starting with the family as the epicenter. It's about building strong relationships as the foundation for a harmonious society.
You got it. And speaking of harmony, that brings us to another cornerstone of Confucian thought, the concept of li, which is often translated as ritual or etiquette.
Okay, so when I hear ritual and etiquette, I immediately picture like formal ceremonies and bowing with the perfect posture. Not exactly my cup of tea.
I hear you, but think of li less about rigid rules and more like a framework for respectful interactions in everyday life.
So less about the outward form and more about the intention behind our actions.
Exactly. It's about creating that sense of harmony and order in society, even in the smallest of interactions.
So even in our chaotic modern world, don't we still have our own versions of lay?
Absolutely. Think about it. We have unwritten rules of etiquette for online interactions, right? We have rituals we follow in professional settings, even how we behave in a queue at the grocery store. These are all forms of lie, in a way, helping to maintain order and respect in our daily lives.
Wow, you're right. It's incredible how these ancient principles still resonate today, even in ways we might not realize. It really makes you wonder what Confucius would say about our hyper-connected, always-on world.
Now there's a thought-provoking question. I'd love to hear his take on social media and the internet.
Me too. It seems like his teachings on empathy, respect, and building meaningful relationships are more relevant than ever.
Absolutely. It's like they offer a timeless roadmap for navigating the complexities of human interaction, no matter what era you're living in.
It's definitely something to ponder maybe the next time you crack open that fortune cookie.
And maybe we could all learn a thing or two from the wisdom of Confucius, even if it's not printed on a tiny slip of paper.
I'll cheers to that. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Confucius. I hope you're walking away with a newfound appreciation for the man behind those fortune cookie sayings. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives going.